there everyone, Joe here, and since we were talking about simplicity in this Friday's Photo Friday, which is going to be anyway, February 9th, 2024, I want to talk about simplicity and how you can both create it as you take it and in software later. Now this is kind of a lone tree in the back country of Monument Valley, and apparently I screwed up the exposure a little bit on this. I think I was concerned about the clouds and I wanted to have enough depth of field, so I let it go underexposed. But notice there's a little green thing here, which means it's getting very close up here. It's getting very close to having some pure black somewhere, but it hasn't quite reached it. So the shadows are safe, even though it looks dark. On the right-hand side, there's no problems at all with the highlights. So let's do a little basic edit first before we continue on. Needs a little bit of more exposure, so let's just cut to the chase. Let's see, how about, about there looks good. Looks like a lot, but stay with me. I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit as well. Let's see, actually going to do it a lot. Yeah, let's bring it up to about there. I'm going to open up the shadows all the way. All right, so now we're starting to get things back. Yes, it looks overexposed, but that's going to change shortly because we're going to add some texture. Clarity is going to darken things up, and actually dehaze is really what's going to do the darkening. And you can see now we're in a better position. Now we haven't touched vibrance and saturation yet. Vibrance is going to increase the saturation of the blue sky. It's also going to darken it a bit. So let's bring that up a bit, even more. And you can see now the sky's looking better. Saturation will bring up the overall saturation everywhere. So let's do that. And again, I remember this morning, and it was very green, actually. Everything was very green because there had been some rain recently. And there was kind of this terracotta orange of the sand because it was also getting over being a little bit wet. So it was a different kind of color than usual. So that I have a copy we can bounce back and forth to, I'm going to Command apostrophe to create a virtual copy so we can see quickly we went from there to there. Okay, looking better. What else? Oh, well, something that drives me nuts. We've got some contrails here, 2 of them. Let's get rid of those. I'm going to go to the healing brush. Let's try the regular healing tool. And here's a nice trick. I'm going to click once right there and then come over to the end of it, hold down the Shift key and click one more time, and it drags all the way across. Now, it picked a little bit up of the tip of that tree. Let's see what happens if we use the clone tool instead. No, that doesn't work. Let's try the erase tool. And don't like that either. Actually, that's going to be the best. I'm going to have this one little thing to fix. We'll get to that in a minute. And then we have another smaller one down here. So let's go there. Again, hold down the Shift key and click. And we get rid of that one in one fell swoop. Now, I have the healing things hidden, and you can do that by hitting the H key. So there's our 2 healing things. I'm going to move this one up a little bit so it gets off of the tree and hit enter on that. So that fixes that. Again, I'm going to hit H. Then I'm going to zoom in just on the tree. Let's go 300%, right to that one little edge here. And yeah, it looks a little grainy. We're at 300%, but I'm going to work in closely and just kind of draw around that so it doesn't actually touch the tree. And it's okay that there could be a little bit of cloud behind that. So let's go back to our fit. And good, we got rid of those because they were really annoying. All right, so what is next? Well, something that happens when you're out in this part of the country is that orangey color, orangey red color reflects up on all the greens and it diminishes them. Now your eyes, your brain fixes that automatically when you stare at it. But in this case, the tree has lost a lot of its green, as have some of the bushes here. And again, I remember being here, it was unusually green for Monument Valley. So we're going to bring that back. So I'm going to use, let's go up to the masking panel. I'm going to use a brush and let's get a little smaller. And I'm going to start clicking in. I've got auto mask on. I want to get all the things that would be the green needles of this really cool looking juniper tree here. And all the way up in here. And notice that since we are in auto mask, it's really not hitting the sky much at all. Oh, I spoke too soon. So I got a little sky in there. So what you do is hold down the Alt key or Option, and that turns it to a minus, and then I can go in and deselect those areas. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to add here too. Down in here, I'm going to add these because, again, they were green as well. It really was an unusual morning here. I don't think all the times I've been to Monument Valley, I've never seen the plants so green. All right, so how do we make green? Well, what's going on? We've got orange-red reflecting up, so we need to counter that. So I'm going to bring the magenta slider back to green. Let's make that real green. And we're going to get rid of some of the yellow by adding some blue in, and that looks a heck of a lot better. While we're at it, let's bring up the exposure a little bit. I want to see what happens. Just a smidge. Very little bit. Okay, I like that. Now, let's also take a look and see where the sun's coming from. It's coming from the right. You can see the shadows going off to the right. So we would expect the right side of the tree to be a little brighter. So we're going to hit K again, which is our brush. And I'm going to get just kind of this side of the tree and brighten that up a little bit. I'm going to bring the exposure up. I'm going to bring down the highlights because the branches are starting to get bright. I'm also going to bring the saturation way up. In fact, as I think about that, I think I'm going to go back to our previous mask, this one, and I can hit the O key and make it stay on. I'm going to bring the saturation up on that as well. Oh, that looks a heck of a lot better. Okay, so hit O, that's gone. So again, we started there and we're there. Now, we're talking about simplicity. We got rid of the distractions. How can we make this a more interesting photograph? It's going to come down to cropping. So let's take, one other thing. This thing back here, this big piece of rock, it's a little bit of a distraction because it is so bright. Let's hit K again. And auto mask is on, and I'm just going to drag all the way across this and get that one in the background. It's okay if a little of the foreground gets chosen. And I'm going to bring down the exposure a little bit. Oh, that looks a lot better. Okay, good. So, all right, so we got the basics done. Now I'm going to hit Command apostrophe 1, 2, 3 times. And what we're going to do is we're going to play with the cropping because we want to simplify. So let's hit the crop tool, which is the R key in Lightroom. So what do we need to get rid of? Well, we don't need that much sky. Let's get rid of that. I don't want to clip off the top of the tree, but we don't need any more than that. This little brush here is very cute, but the tree is the subject. And if you've decided the tree is the subject, then it can go. All right, that's looking better. So let's hit enter on that. In fact, let's look at it full screen for a second. Okay, a couple things need to be done. First of all, you have this kind of slope out on the way on the left-hand side. I want to cut a little bit of that off. So let's get the crop tool again, and let's bring it in a little bit just to about there. Maybe even a little more. Maybe let's cut off all of those. Let's come right up to, let's say, there. And now I feel like I'm a little bit too tight on the top of the tree. Let's do that. And I'm going to bring it down just a smidge. Let's hit enter on that. Now, we want to go to the tree, so let's darken the edges. And we'll do that under Effects with a post-crop vignette. Okay. You know what? It's actually looking pretty good. Again, consider, we can go full screen. There's where we are now. That's what we started with. And again, when I talk about simplicity in a landscape, it doesn't mean there's only one thing in there, but it means there's one thing that dominates. And by doing the cropping and changing the lighting and color here, now this has become the primary subject. But can we do better? Let's take a look. So let's take this one we just did. And I made my virtual copies too soon. Here's this one again. Let's try another crop. Let's hit crop again. Well, let's come in even closer. Oh dear, we're getting close to an 8x10. And oh, I hate 8x10s, but let's see. Let's do a 4x5. There we go. There's an 8x10. Does it work for this particular image? Let's hit crop and see what happens. Yeah, it's okay. I really don't like it as well. I like having more of the image to see. Does this work? Really, if the tree was really the star and that's all you wanted to share, yeah, you can get away with that. Let's take it one step further. I'm going to hit one more virtual copy. And let's hit the crop tool again. And what the heck, even though it was shot as a horizontal, let's unlock the 4x5 thing over here. And let's make this a vertical. I'm going to actually come right over, actually cut off the edge of the tree, come down a little bit, and in. And I just want to have the tree off center a little bit. I've just got it off a little to the right. I kind of like this one little shadow of the rock sticking up. So let's hit enter on that. And, you know, it's not terrible. If you really wanted to just share the tree, certainly a valid option. So let's take a look and see what we've done with our image. All right, so here's our raw original file. There's getting rid of the bad stuff, but we haven't done any cropping yet. It's okay. It's not terrible. We could live with this. But look how much more powerful this is when we get rid of the stuff that does not have to be there. We got rid of the extra sky. We got rid of some of the foreground. The tree is really strong in the frame. We've simplified. We've made it obvious. Yes, you're going to go to the tree first. You're going to look at the trunk, and then you're going to wander over here. But also having the tree on the right side, particularly with this dark left side here, it kind of stops you from leaving the image. It really grabs your eye. And while you're at it, you can then bounce back and explore some more. Like, for example, let's zoom in way on here. Oh, that's 300%. Hold on one second. Let's go see how cool those little plants are down the bottom. Yeah, look at how nice and crisp they are. This was shot at f/16 on my OM1. And as I scroll down, when I let go and let it redraw, you can see everything is nice and crisp. And by the way, did you notice I didn't do any sharpening? So very cool. All right, so let's hit zoom out of that. That one I like. Oh, let's go full screen again. I like that. Now here's our more square. This is what you get when you do an 8x10. Do I like it as much as that? I do not, because I really like the addition of this little bit of brush on the lower left. It kind of gives you a leading line up to the tree from the lower left up there. So I think that's a strong thing. The square, it's okay, but the vertical kind of works too. The vertical's kind of cool. If really you just want to share the tree, you don't want people meandering around in the image. This would also be good if you want to make a smaller print. That's the beauty of having something cropped way in and very simplified, because it's big in the print. It's big in the frame, so it works. But 8x10, don't really love it. Really do like this one. I think this one works the best out of all of our choices. So that's just part of the thought process when you're dealing with simplifying an image. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of everything, but you need to make the subject the strongest thing, and then give your viewer a chance, after they've gone to the subject, to want to explore around a little bit, and then eventually they're going to come back to the subject. And to me, that's what makes for a successful landscape photograph. So one last time, here's our original raw file before we did the edit. And there is our new image. And again, a very kind of cool, somewhat peaceful, but interesting draws you in image from Monument Valley. So that's it for today. Remember to simplify and make it easy for your viewer to get into the image where you want them to go. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you online again soon. Till next time, be well. Bye-bye.